Welcome back to Gamble Data Engineering. Today we're going to be digging into the wonderful world of SQL. So, did you know that SQL is the foundation of most of the websites and applications that you use today? It's very important to business, both in analytics as well as just running the applications that we use. So, I hope you're excited about this and hope you're excited about starting your journey to becoming a great data engineer. Let's get started. SQL or SQL, you'll hear it referred to as both. It just stands for Structured Query Language, and it is the most common language used to manage and query data in the world. So, relational databases store data in tables. Tables are very similar to Excel files that are structured in rows and columns. Um, and so, basically, a database is nothing more than a bunch of Excel files, right? Have you ever used Excel files and they're so huge and so massive and you're doing VLOOKUPs and the file just crawls to calculate anything? Well, today you're going to learn some tools in order to get around having to use Excel for large data sets and keep from having to do all those VLOOKUPs. I'll show you how to query databases, how we'll look at how tables look very similar to Excel files, even talk about how you could do calculations within your query itself. I hope you're excited to get into this as I am. And in the upcoming sections, we'll talk about all that information. And I hope you learn a lot. And as we go through this course, if you have any questions, feel free to mention stuff in the comments. Please like and subscribe uh, so that you get to learn more. And I'll be going through more and more advanced videos as we move through the lessons. So let's talk really quickly about the basic structure of SQL. You're going to have tables, queries, views, and procedures. You'll also have some other things outside of that, but those are the main structures that we're gonna be dealing with within the next few courses that I'll be talking about. So, first of all, tables. So they are data structures that are organized in columns and rows, and that's it. I mean, there's nothing more to it really than that. Now, next you have views. Views are basically stored queries that you could use to link to, that data analysts can use to pull into Power BI and Tableau. They're data structures that you've taken the table and done some calculations, you've joined it to other tables, and we'll talk about joins later on in the course, and combine the information. Joins are basically VLOOKUPs, right? Where you're taking data from one place, comparing it to another location, and pulling in some data that is related to that record that's specific to that again. So now you also have queries. Queries are basically ad hoc views, right? Then you have stored procedures. Stored procedures are a little bit more complex. It's definitely something that we'll talk about in courses that are probably a few weeks down the line. But just so that you know, there are also stored procedures that do specific functions that you could do multiple steps within one call. So a lot of things that you could do with SQL and data. So if you've had a complex data issue before that you just couldn't handle with Excel or spreadsheets, tell us about it in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. Without any further ado, let's jump into some SQL and some actual examples. All right, so let's get into it. The application that I'm using today is Azure Data Studio. So jumping into SQL queries. If you have questions about Azure Data Studio, I'll link to it down below, but let's jump right in. So a statement generally that we're going to be talking about today is going to begin with the keyword select. Select basically is telling the database, these are the fields that I want to return from, which you'll notice is the next keyword, this table or these tables, which are joined together using keys. And there'll be primary keys in one table and foreign keys in another table. And you'll see the explanations of that right down here. And next is a where. So where is like using a filter in Excel. So you're filtering for specific instances or specific criteria of that data set. You might be looking at a date range. You might be looking for only employees in a certain department or in a certain state, things like that. The next piece is group by. So group by is used when you're doing aggregations. So things like the total sales for an employee or for a department or for a date range. And when you do that, all the fields that are not included in an aggregation need to be listed within that group by section of the query. And you'll see that in action in a moment. The next piece is having. Having and where are very similar. The only difference is the order in which it comes in. Is when you have to do a where or a filter after your group by. And then order by. Order by would be something like maybe you want your query results to return in a specific order. So maybe you want everything ordered by department so that you could see, okay, everything's grouped together. Here's all of the people that are in sales. Here's all the people that are in retention. And so everything's kind of grouped together. So those are the different pieces that we're going to be talking about today. So select. We're going to say select. Again, we're dealing with mortgage data today. In a future class, we'll talk about how to import data from flat files and import data from other resources as well. So select the name, the count, and the period from HMDA. Is that piece of this table name is called a schema. And so schemas are a way of grouping tables together that are very similar. Mortgage counts table. And this next piece is called an alias. And we're going to alias this with MC for mortgage counts. If you just put join, then it's going to be either a left join or a right join. It takes whatever's in one table, joins it to the other table. A left join or a right join will take everything in one table and then return the additional fields and additional data from the other table if it exists. Inner joins only return data from if the data exists in both of the tables. So for example, today we're going to do an inner join, an HMDA, and you'll note mortgage company, table. TBL is a common nomenclature for a table. VW, you'll see sometimes, is a common nomenclature for view. SP for stored procedure, things like that. So we're going to, again, alias this one as mortgage MCO for mortgage company. And then the next keyword that we're going to use is on. So on tells your program what keys you're going to use. So it's your VLOOKUP piece, right? In a VLOOKUP, you're going to, you're looking for that common factor between your two data sets. So your on piece is that first piece of your VLOOKUP. And so on mc.lei, and then we're going to say equals mco.lei. So LEI is the ID for the mortgage company that was in the data set that I pulled. So I didn't name that field. That was the name of the field when I retrieved the data set. We're going to use our MCO here and put it in front of name because that tells your program and other users that may be looking at your query which of the two tables that those fields came from. And so we just put those aliases in front of the field names. Okay, so we'll hit run. It's going to return data. And so you see results. You'll see there will be a message as well. So your message tells you how many rows were returned and the length of your execution time. Length of execution time is important, and we'll talk about that in further sessions, how to optimize your queries by using indexes and different methods. But what we're worried about today is the results. So again, you'll see here, we've got a name of a company, Northwestern Mutual Life Insurance Company. They had 2 mortgages that were issued in 2019. And let's say we want to see for the State Department Federal Credit Union, for the time periods that we have here, how many of these specific types of mortgages that were issued. Where name, and we're going to use our alias, right? MCO, just because it's good practice to use your aliases. It's not necessary if there's not another field in the other table that has the same name. But it's good practice to always use your aliases. So again, aliases are important to shorten your code and to keep things kind of clean. Okay, so where MCO name equals, so an apostrophe is what you're going to use to tell your system that you're using text. And so without the apostrophe, it's going to look for it to be a integer or a number. And now when we run it, you'll see that it only returned for the 3 years. We only have 2018, 19, and 20 in here. They're not in order, right, by period. It says 2018, 2020, and then 2019. So we want them to be in order. And maybe we don't want the period to be at the end. So we can move period to be after name. And basically I just highlighted and click and drag. So we have name, period, count. So we moved the field. So it will show up in the order that you put your fields here, regardless of the order that they are in the table. Your query will return the data in the order in which you place your field names. We're going to say order by period. So now we see, again, that period is brought in to after the name and before the count, and it is in the ascending order. So it has 2018, 2019, and 2020. If we put DESC for descending and hit run, you'll notice that it comes back in descending order by period. So we have 2020, 2019, 2018. We talked about aggregating today. So we're going to do a sum. This is just a simple function, right? Sum, just like you do it in Excel. We're going to comment out name by putting in 2 minus signs before the field. And we're going to come down here, and I forgot my alias before name, put it in there. And we're going to comment out name down here. And now when we run it, it's going to return the period and the total number of mortgages that were issued. But again, the numbers are the same. Why is that? Because we're filtering for State Department Federal Credit Union. Let's comment out where. We're going to leave group by. And we're going to leave order by. And we'll run it. And we're going to see that it's going to have, by period, the total number of this type of mortgage that was issued for all of the different organizations, all of the banks and different companies that issued mortgages. So we're going to say total mortgages. Now, having comes after group by and before your order by. So having period equals 2018. So you'll notice I didn't have to put apostrophes around 2018 because it's a number. You'll see that we returned all of the mortgages for 2018. So that's the basic structure of a select statement. I hope you learned a lot. Comment down below if there's anything that you learned that was a key insight for you today. Comment down below about anything that's more advanced that you'd like to see me do in the next show. And again, please like and subscribe. And I look forward to seeing you again next time.